So Ntombi is a founder of Golden Finch Foundation. This is where she focuses on providing marginalized children and young adults in South Africa with access to education and mentoring programs. She has a diploma in software development technologies from the Tshwane University in South Africa. I think that deserves a round of applause, and I'll tell you why after you clap, right? Because people think like entrepreneurs don't go to school. Like, utsuile one day, I got a business nyana. But this is encouraging us to continue to go to school, to continue to learn, to continue to empower ourselves with knowledge to take our businesses to the next level, right? So she has received recognition for her work in fostering youth development in a community. Last but not least, she received a scholarship for the Africa Venture Leadership Program through Common Purpose South Africa, and she has been accepted into the Center on African Philanthropy and Social Investment Executive Philanthropy Certificate Program. Yo! Come on, let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen, from Ntombi. We're going to have a conversation. Can we, the other mic? Hello, Ntombi. How are you? Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to my biggest blunder. Entrepreneurs in the room, let's get straight into it. Just take us through your entrepreneurial journey and some of the businesses that you have started and how they're going. Please use the mic. No? Sorry. Sound, can you put the mic a bit closer? Can you hear at the back? Lamutu. 1, 2. Can we please get the mic? Let's see. 1, 2. Yeah, just put it a little bit closer. No?
Wow, thank you. My journey is quite long, and it is brought by my activism during my tenure as a student representative council in TUT. So during that time, that's when I really discovered my interest, and I became active where I wanted learners and students to just experience life beyond what was offered academically. So what I started, it's an initiative of arts and culture where every Wednesday we'll have learners expressing their different interests in arts, whether it's sport, in different activities beside their academic. Because of my activism, then I was able to discover myself as to what is it that I want to do, or how can I give back? Because we know our history as Black South Africans, and the idea that our focus should just be education. We were never really taught to explore our other talents. And post-varsity, then the bug was still there to make a difference in my community. And unfortunately, I never really got to practice as a software developer, but at least I had interest in leadership and community development. So what I did was I tried to work, let me just share my story. I tried to work in the insurance industry. I was once employed by Old Mutual as a financial advisor, but it was like, no, that's not for me. That's not where I want to go. And because originally I'm from Tefontein, KwaNdebele, Mpumalanga. So you also know the struggles of having to wake up at 1 a.m. to come to Joburg or Pretoria to search for better opportunities. And I really did not have guidance at all or anyone to look up to. And one day I decided, I'm like, there's a lot of inequalities.
Sorry, I'm gonna, because your story is, yeah, it's really, there's a lot of gems that you're dropping there. So sorry if I interject.
No problem.
You speak about having to wake up early to come to Joburg and look for better opportunities. What kept you going? What was that why? And I think as entrepreneurs, it's bigger than just making money. At times you don't want to wake up and go and do what you have to do. But because you've got a bigger why, it could be your family, it could be your kids, that's what gets you going. What kept you going through those struggling times?
Well, because I come from a disadvantaged background, KwaNdebele, we didn't really have any exposure to whatsoever. And I wanted a better life for myself, but also for those in my community, since we don't have role models. So I was motivated to show the way for others that are coming behind me. So I didn't want to accept the situation that I was in, the poverty and all the discouragement that exists within our communities. So I wanted a better life. I didn't want to accept or be content with the situation and how I was raised and, lack of motivation for young people. So the only way for me was to, expose myself to different people. I remember I used to spend my last money, at times I would not even have money for lunch, and come and attend a seminar here in Pretoria or in Joburg just to come and learn from people like other entrepreneurs that are present here today. So to live a better life, that's what kept me going, because being an activist, also knowing that as Black people, we deserve a space to express ourselves, to also have access to opportunities. So I didn't want to let my background to really limit what I stand for as a person, in particular as a Black person, which I'm very much passionate about, the empowerment of Black people.
Fantastic. Please can we give a round of applause? So let's then get into business. Why business? How did you get into it?
Well, how I got into business was, it always boils down to my activism. So when I decided to quit my old mutual job, then I decided to go home and volunteer to assist learners with maths, and then through that process, I was introduced to the concept of social enterprising, and I was approached by UNICEF. There was a project that they were running in water and sanitation to develop the schools in the country, and I was selected to lead in the province. Then I understood that, in terms of business, it does not always have to be only based on like the capitalist mentality, but we need businesses that are also socially conscious and of the impact that we have in our communities and environment. Then that's when I started my own nonprofit organization, which is Golden Finch Foundation. And of course, somebody will wonder, how do you make money from, a nonprofit sector? Because there's no money, that's the reality. But I'm glad that in our work, I was introduced to different stakeholders, people that actually decided to invest in not only in the programs that we are doing, but also to invest in my development as the founder of the organization. People that injected also some finances in some of the programs that we were doing. And just to share, somebody might also wonder that, but normally it's not a lot of money. But I was also nominated to serve on the board of South African Associations of Youth Clubs, which also helped me to really understand the social enterprise sector on how can we monetize the value that we provide to the communities, what partners can we work with to ensure that our organizations are sustainable. So, of course, I also want to share that there are other businesses that I've tried before. I've sold eggs, trying to make ends meet. I've sold some photos. There are a lot of businesses that I've tried, but what really stuck with me the most is being a social entrepreneur, where in my endeavor, I'm able to make a difference, while also at times I'm able to make profit from the business.
So you were like a hustler. Like watakansa, man. You just to make ends meet.
I used to be.
And you speak about coming from an environment where there's no role models. So there's no one to model on how you can run a successful business. You're bound to make mistakes because you don't know any better. You haven't seen any better. While running these different businesses, your social enterprise, selling eggs, share with us one or two stories of the blunders that you made.
Interesting. It's actually a good question because I've made so many blunders.
Tell us. We want to hear them. That's why we're here. Tell us.
So the biggest blunder was normally the social entrepreneurs, we are pushed by passion, right? And you just keep on implementing programs, but you do not have a plan of how building the system, creating the system within the business to ensure that even when your volunteers or the people that work for you, are able to carry out to their duties well. So my biggest blunder was not being able to create systems in place so that even when I'm not there, the business still ran. I remember last year, actually, we had to pause because I was away on a Mandela Washington Fellowship program.
Where?
In the USA.
Yeah, I wanted to hear in the USA. That's why I said, ask.
So,
Mandela, they're in how to know. You must tell them. I was like, hey. She must go deeper, man. No, it's just,
Yeah, so it's a leadership development program for African leaders. So I literally had to pause most activities because I didn't have anyone to really take over. And I had stakeholders calling me, sending emails. We want to work with you. This is what we want to do. But because of lack of systems within my organization, then I realized that actually it means the business cannot continue if I'm not there. Then it's my biggest blunder because it means I am the business. Should anything happen to me, then every work that I've invested in for the past 10 years will definitely go down the drain. And my other blunder is not having a mentor. And as much as I've met amazing people, but I've never really made an effort into tapping into what's within them. What is it that I can get from them or learn from them? Because also having a mentor is not just about them giving to you, but you need to have a plan yourself that what is it that I want to learn from this person. So that's my other blunder. And because part of the work that I do also involves a lot of leadership, right? And my biggest blunder has also been making myself available for leadership positions, We like power, it's attractive, you get to sit in boardrooms and make all these decisions. But the most important thing is, why are you there? As much as people can see the potential in you, but you need to be able to ensure that what you are selling benefits you as well. Because people can see the potential, but it benefits them. It does not benefit you. Where else, I'm just excited that I'm in this position, but what am I getting from it? And that time you're giving your all, you're sweating, you're bringing in ideas. And you know how it is when it comes to, leadership. Not all of us are principled enough to really reward the value that we get, especially a value or service that is not tangible. A product, it's easy to really pay for a product, but when you have to sell your ideas and bring strategies into place, we don't know how to package that. So my biggest blunder has also been not being able to package well my brand in terms of the value that I bring into organizations that I serve in.
Sure, please, let's give a round of applause. How many of us are learning and enjoying this chat? All right, so we're on track, right? So you're in the USA, United States of America.
Yes.
Now it's tears and smile. Oh, tears and smile. So now you're getting these. You speak about systems. You're getting these calls. Stakeholders want to speak to you, but you're also there for a program. You're there on a mission. What's going on in your mind? How are you feeling? How are you dealing with this pressure? Take us through that.
It hasn't been easy because while I'm there, I also had to commit myself, give myself 100%, be present,
sure,
soulfully, and also in terms of work, because it's a very intensive, competitive environment, right? And I don't want to lie. Everything, as I said, just had to pause. And I'm worried. I'm also thinking, because I have these great ideas also emerging from, interacting with other leaders, that when I go back home, these are the programs that I want to implement. This is, I want to go back and revive the relationships. Guess what? I come back home, people have shifted. You know, it's either the person I was working with has shifted from that position, or mentally people, their focus is on other things now. And I'm struggling on how to, how to revive the brand of the organization. And guess what? While I'm still in that process, the next thing you get coverage, or you get interviews about the work that you're doing, and everybody's applauding. That's wow, because of you get recognition from amazing stakeholders, the embassies and all of that. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, but you know what? There is a loophole here. I'm really struggling now on how can I balance what I've learned, but also to revive what I've already done so that it doesn't go down the drain.
Sure. So in hindsight, is there a particular decision that you regret making in your journey? And what are some of the lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, my decision was not monetizing my work, the work that I've been doing.
Sure.
And because I was just giving back to the community out of pity. But what I've learned that it's okay to charge for your services.
Say that again.
Yes, because I used to feel guilty, in charging for my services. At times people will ask, and I wouldn't even know what kind of value to place on that particular service. So I regret not really monetizing for the past 10 years of running the organization. Because when I look back, we could have been far, but because of not monetizing the projects that we've been involved in, I really regret that. And also my biggest regret is in terms of personal development. I'll be vulnerable that at times we get so fixed on how we've always known ourselves to be, and lack of, changing or flexibility. Because you've done things a particular way, then you want to remain that way. And you don't want to lose what, is embedded within your system. But that's also one of my biggest regret, not being flexible enough in my work when trends are changing, or when, there's a lot of shifts that are happening that affect our work as social entrepreneurs politically, and I still want to remain, to my own principles. And I'm not saying that we should change our principles to suit the environment, but flexibility, it's very much important.
Flexibility.
Yes.
Being flexible.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us those who are in social entrepreneurship, whatever, all these fancy names that people use, you're social entrepreneur, you serial entrepreneur, you've got a heart to help the community. And my mentor said to me, we must decide. Are you running an NPO or are you running a business? Decide. But know that if you are going to go into business, you're in business to make money. You're in business to make money. How can you help people if you're not making money?
True.
And I think a lot of us can relate. And thank you so much for sharing that. How do you then deal with the regret? Because that is something that can hold you back as an entrepreneur when you look back and say, Ish, Ngabe, I should have, I could have. How do you deal with that regret? And what can you share with the entrepreneurs in the room to help them overcome that so that they can go to the next level?
All right. Well, the first point of any regrets, even in business or personal life, is accepting and reflecting truthfully to your blunders as a person and your contribution to what led to you making that mistake. Being honest with your flaws, that this is where I lack and this is where I need improvement. So I started first by really reflecting and keeping to myself and distancing myself a bit from, the activities so that I can spend time in solitude and just self-introspect that what is my contribution in all of this, because it's easy most of the time when we fail, when we, when we have regrets, to blame others, that if it wasn't for that person, who could have connected me to so-and-so, who could have gave me funding, then I would be fine now. But I had to really accept my own weaknesses as a person and just try and find ways on how to then I pick myself up. And you can only pick yourself up if you truly accept your own flaws, embrace them without being embarrassed. Because a lot of times we become embarrassed and we are afraid to seek help. That, what will people say because with me, I also deal with a lot of young people. So at times they'll call me unexpectedly, expecting me to be there for them emotionally or in whatever way, or to just share information. But to say, you know what, I'm unable to assist you now. That's me accepting the situation as it is, and not to try and sugarcoat the event so that, it suits you, you feel better. And about also, it's difficult, I won't lie, to rise up from that shell of regret. So I also had to seek therapy to deal with my mental and issues and regrets and, the mistakes that I've made, and, asking myself, where to from here? And I know one of the speakers also spoke about going back to who you are, when you sit down and really understand why did you start what you started, then it will help you to really rediscover that why you need to stay in it. Because I won't lie, there are days when I was like, you know what, I'm done with this development journey. I just want to go and look for work, go back and work full time. But then I remember that why I started this, it's very much important to keep to your why whenever times are tough. And it's not easy, especially I always say that, there's you as a person, then there's a business which has expectations. But if you as a person, you are at your weakest, you cannot offer anything to your business. And so I really had to sit down and be realistic with my flaws and accept them. That was a stupid move. That was wrong. I was not supposed to act like that. And then that's when we move forward. And having a good supportive structure, like people that we surround ourselves with, people that that allow you to be yourself without really expecting, especially families, when you have a good relationship with family, the friends that because also as an entrepreneur, that you are driven by sales. Most of the time you're driven by profit, but having people that will not need, say, entrepreneurial services from you, but that will just be there for you as a person. It's very much important to have a support system in terms of humans. I know we on TikTok, we on YouTube. There's a lot to learn, but personal and human interaction, it's what heals a person.
Sure. That deserves a round of applause. Please, can we give a round of applause? Just reflecting on our conversation as we come to a close, what aspects of discussing your biggest blunders and failures has been the most valuable and insightful for you personally?
The mistakes I've made within my own organization, where, when you are there at the stage, everybody's amazed by what you are doing.
Sure.
And not really knowing the behind the scenes, the struggles that you have to go through, the rejections, and also, but most importantly, your own contribution as well. That has been, to say, this is my fault. It's not anybody's. So that has been my,
Get out of your own way.
Yeah.
You are in your own way.
Yes, true. And also quickly, and being so invested in my own ways of doing things. I think that's me being vulnerable enough to say, wanting things to go like a certain way because I'm used to it and it has worked before, but then you realize that it's not really working. I remember, just to share quickly.
Yeah, sure.
When Mr. Roche, he actually came to one of our events, empowerment events in Mpumalanga that we have organized as an organization. And obviously we keep on talking. I call him my coach. So he's like, so he's invested in and wants to know more about the organization. Ntombi, how are you surviving? How are you making money? And she's like, actually, you are doing this so wrong. That hurt, and it really hurt. It's like, you're doing this so wrong. There's some changes that you really need to make. And yeah. So having those kind of people as well, even today, as I reflect, I remember those words. I'm like, yeah, they were things that I did very wrong on my journey.
Sure. Feel free. You can clap. You can give a round of applause. This is yeah. Hey, leadership will tell you, hey, but the way you're doing it, my chief.
It's not.
And it's. I think there's so much to learn from that. When you're an entrepreneur and you're in your own lane, you're by yourself most of the time, and then, my mentor used to say to me, it's difficult to see the picture when you are in the frame. So the people who've got a different perspective and can see things that you don't see. And sometimes that thing, it hurts you. You're like, I'm doing it wrong, me. This is my organization. But Ntombi, you've shared so much. I was actually writing notes. I've got notes. You spoke about, the big thing that I took away was the systems, building systems in your business, which is hard at times because you are everything. Twara the phone, send the email, how your business are you? And that's how I think a lot of us, that's how we all start. But to encourage us to have a vision to bring people into the team that can assist us. And we all know how frustrating it is when you should be out there, but you're sitting, doing something that you don't love. Thank you so much for encouraging us.
Thank you.
On that. And also just, this one is, and I feel like it's been a common theme from our speakers today on being authentic and being true to yourself. How did I get here? And then having to track back on how I got here. Thank you for sharing that and encouraging us. How do people get hold of you, be part of your organization? How do people invest money into the business? Share with the audience.
Okay, well, I am on Facebook and LinkedIn. My name is Ntombifuthi Khumalo. And regarding our organization, as I've narrated that I've actually realized the mistakes I've made, we are restructuring, changing our focus, because we used to do every little thing that was coming in terms of empowerment. But now, we be focusing mostly on agriculture, especially the education around agriculture, but our target is the learners in schools, which is something that has been quite neglected, where we are disconnected from nature and the food that we eat, and we're not teaching learners about that. So that is our main program for now, and we've got an essay competition where we encourage learners to write about agriculture. What is it that they know about agriculture and the environment? So the goal is not just to educate them, but also to get them to write as well, because we know that we have literacy issues in the country. But then what is it that people should write about? you know, and we can also teach literacy while we're educating also about like a specific subject with us, which is agriculture. So where that also comes from, it's from, I've served in the agricultural youth development organization, which was very much active back then in the country. So I've always wanted to do it, but like I said, not having the right mentorship, not having the right systems. So can you please, we really appreciate support for our agricultural project, as we'll be doing the projects around the country. And what also motivated me is while I was in the US, the university that I was placed in, they actually do have agricultural schools that they support. So within the school system, there's the subject of agriculture where learners actually plant, they make food. And I've just seen the impact it has on the well-being of the learners and the consciousness of the environment and how much what they consume. And also just to the healing, because the main thing about agriculture and the environment, it heals as well, your wellness mentally. So that's what we are working on. We will no longer be just doing each and every project that comes, but also with also the background that I have in understanding IT and how do we bring agri-tech or modern agriculture within the midst. So we'll really appreciate, and I might be also going to the US again to be a program assistant. So with that in mind, I'm sharing because obviously there's a lot of support from countries outside, but also when we get home, we do not receive as much support. But for us to flourish, we need to have big support also in our home ground so that when they ask which stakeholders you work with, then I'm able to, you know, to declare that these are the people that, or the footprint that we have in the country as well.
Yeah. You can hear like that answer, it's yeah, she's doing it right now. Where's that? Now she's doing it right.
She's laser focused. It's just like agriculture, students in schools.
This is where we're going. You're doing it right. On behalf of my biggest blunder, Ntombi, we just want to say thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your blunders. And we really, really wish you all the best. I know that people are going to get involved onwards and upwards. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together for Ntombi.